Western Gentile historians, Western Eurocentric minded historians. We're not just speaking about white scholars or so-called European scholars. Some of them actually, though not adorers or lovers of the king, they admit more real facts in some of their writings. I could point out several pretty good historical documents that when you see the real facts that's contained in them, and then you look at some of the History Channel programs, about history, World War II, and they even have more programs about Mussolini. They always give very little to no serious treatment of the Lion of the tribe of Judah, Haile Selassie I, the elect of God, the King of Kings of Ethiopia. Why is that? And it's not because they don't know the truth. They know the truth. So we have to come to the conclusion, right, based on a thorough investigation, that it's a conspiracy, right, that Western Gentile and historians, those who are minded like that, sometimes some of the so-called black scholars, right, that speak about African things, they're even worse than the Europeans because they're still suffering that kind of PTSD, post-traumatic slave disorder mentality. So when they see anything good and true and real, and something that by comparison to the so-called European civilization outshines it and is uniquely, let's say, black, right, or Ethiopian, they always kind of tap dance around that history. So some of the black so-called scholars, especially a lot of these pseudo RBG, Africa Unite kind of scholars, they're even worse than some of the Europeans because they give you certain aspects, of course, of obvious history, but they continue that COINTELPRO. They continue to suppress the half of the story that hasn't been told, and that's concerning Ethiopia. So what happens when you suppress the truth and the facts historically, you also throw off people's ability to comprehend prophecy. In other words, when you give people a false history, or you suppress the true aspects of history, or you misrepresent these facts, then when people do their, biblical, prophetic, matrices, when they try to figure out, okay, what's going on? This must be in the Bible. Like when the faithful people really are trying to figure out, well, what are the signs of the times that we live in? And they are looking at history, leading up to that present event horizon. All that has been thrown off. So in a sense, it's a intellectual, historical overthrow. Right? It's an overthrow, but it really all fits into the COINTELPRO matrix. COINTELPRO means counterintelligence. In other words, things that you should be able to intellect and recollect intellectually. So when you're looking at prophecy, you can say, oh, that is what that means, and that is that prophecy in fulfillment. Sadly, with Ethiopia, with true Ethiopia, with holy Ethiopia, with Ethiopia of the King of Kings, with Haile Selassie and his Ethiopia, because that is a true Ethiopia. Even Ethiopia right now that we see it's a choice, right? It's a choice. It's a choice factor. We do what we're doing right here to put out the truth and to challenge ones to go check it out for themselves. Don't come with that biased way of thinking, because the media has put out a lot of that. The media has misrepresented one of the most significant aspects or significant historical facts. When we talk about World War II, everybody figured when they talk about World War II, they're talking about these two little guys. They're talking about Benito Mussolini, right, to some extent, much less than Adolf Hitler, right, than Adolf Hitler. So Benito Mussolini and Adolf Hitler. Almost no significant mention is made of Kedemawi Haile Selassie. No mention is made of the Ethiopian Hebrew, that black Hebrew Holocaust that was going on, or the real connection of that with Bible and biblical prophecy. Because you have to recall that the world that we're in, this seclorum, this world system, that's what the Bible says, don't be conformed to the world. This world that we're in is from a Western, a Gentile, and a so-called Eurocentric or an Anglo-American. So speaking of England and European, so everything is like whitewashed, So therefore, can anything good come from Nazareth? Question. Can anything good come from Ethiopia? So the modern POV, point of view, that most people have when you say Ethiopia is pictures of famine, big belly, children naked, trying to wipe flies from them. And that's the point of view, right? But that is not even half of the true story, nor is it of the glory.